Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sarah Sims, and I'm the Assistant Director of Professional Development for the Brown School here at Washington University in St. Louis. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Open Classroom series. Open Classroom is the Brown School's virtual and free professional development series. As folks are getting settled, I have just a couple of housekeeping items before we begin. First, this is a Zoom webinar format, which just means that we can't see or hear you, but we can engage with you through the chat, and we'd love to hear from you today. We'd love to have your comments. We'd love to have your questions for the panelists, and we'd love to get to know you. So please feel free to use the chat to engage with us. Also, today's session is being recorded and it'll be posted on our Open Classroom webpage. I'll include a link to the chat or a link to that in the chat, as well as a QR code later on in the presentation. All right, so today's Open Classroom is the second of our 5-part Black History Month series. I would first just like to acknowledge and thank the entire Black History Month Planning Committee, especially our co-chairs, Amber Brown and Miss Cynthia Williams. Miss Cynthia is here with us today. She's our Assistant Dean for Community Programs at the Brown School, and she's going to help facilitate some of the Q&A at the end of the panel discussion today. So now it's my pleasure to jump into the program, introduce our main facilitator for today. So the program we have today is entitled Creative Energy, a Tool for Change. It's a panel discussion, and it's going to be moderated by DeBorah Ahmed. I'm going to introduce DeBorah first, and then she's going to jump right into introducing the panelists and leading us in that discussion. So in 1983, DeBorah and her husband Malik co-founded Better Family Life Incorporated. She currently serves as the executive director for Better Family Life Cultural, Educational, and Business Center, which is a 60,000 square foot facility that is on the National Register of Historic Places. And she also oversees the organization's Cultural Arts Department. DeBorah holds a Master's of Science in Policy Analysis from Southern Illinois University and a Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology from Grinnell College. And she's currently, because she's apparently not busy enough, she's currently pursuing her Ph.D. in social work at St. Louis University. And we're excited for her forthcoming dissertation, which will address the influence that racial knowledge and understanding has on the personal agency and self-efficacy of adult African Americans. Beyond all of that, she's an accomplished dancer, a published author, a jewelry designer. Her work has been recognized and celebrated through numerous awards, including the MLK Legacy Award for Outstanding Community Service, the Presenters Award from the International Association of Blacks in Dance, the Wind Beneath the Wings Award from the St. Louis chapter of Drifters Incorporated, the Cultural Leadership Award from the St. Louis Community Empowerment Foundation, and the Beat of Her Heart Award honoring St. Louis female artists. We here at the Brown School are happy to add to DeBorah's list of accolades, naming her one of our 2024 Black History Month champions. So I hope you all will join me in welcoming DeBorah Ahmed.
Sarah, thank you so much. It's always humbling when you hear your own accomplishments. So thank you for sharing that with our viewing and listening audience. Cynthia Williams, thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of the Brown School celebration of Black History Month this year, as you all focus on the theme Art as Activism. I also want to give a shout out for some special birthdays today. First and foremost, this is Better Family Life's 41st anniversary. Today, we were born 41 years ago. It's like really hard to believe that we've been at it this long, but we have been. And I want to give a special thanks to my husband and the founding CEO of Better Family Life, Malik Ahmed, for having the vision, the tenacity, the energy, and the belief that he could accomplish what he willed. And he put his entire life occurrences, influences, his family into forming the thought that has become an institution at 5415 Page Boulevard. And as always, I give my thanks and send my prayers out to his successor, Brother Daryl Grimes, as he is charting Better Family Life on the course that we have been on, charting new courses, because he is building upon a legacy and he will be successful in that endeavor. I want to send a special birthday wish to my sister friend, Rhonda Ballou, who's in a warmer place down in San Antonio, Texas. Today is her birthday. Also to my brother-in-law, Kasim, who is an ancestor now, because it was Kasim who came up with the name Better Family Life for his family's road business that they have, where they were selling concessions with concert tours all over the country. Kasim had no idea the profundity of what he shared with that name, Better Family Life. He said, that's what we got to have. To Bob Marley, today is his birthday. He is a brother who took his music, who took his art, who took his creative brilliance, his genius, and created social activism through it. And we thank him for that. And also to the man who is responsible for the creation of what we now call Black History Month, Dr. Carter Godwin Woodson. One of his quotes that I like to use is, if race has no history, if it has no worthwhile tradition, it becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated. God blessed us with the life of Dr. Carter G. Woodson on December 19th, 1875, and he ascended to the ancestral realm on April 3rd, 1950. And he said also, real education means to inspire people to live more abundantly, to learn to begin with life as they find it, and to make it better, to have a better family life. And to my guests today, Malena Amusa, Dacia Polk, and Serroge Watt, I thank you all very much as we engage in our discussion on art as activism being the theme, with the title for this panel discussion, Creative Energy, a Tool for Change. Malena is a passionate mother, professional dancer, international journalist, and founder of Jafundi Phonics and Math, a digital design and educational resource company. Afro creativity is at the core of everything she does, whether it's teaching dance in St. Louis schools, writing an article, and Malena is an incredible writer. Her energy for life comes through her words, or developing reading materials that culturally resonate with Black children. Malena, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And it's going to be our pleasure too. And Dacia InnerGy Polk is better known as InnerGy. She is a multifaceted, multi-talented, creative, and curator who uses art as a tool for healing. With aspirations to have a positive and widespread community impact through many artistic initiatives, she currently produces a 9-year and running weekly open mic called Word Up. It's an event that allows her to sharpen her own performative skills and talents while cultivating a safe space for expression. It was birthed during the period after Michael Brown Jr.'s murder and the subsequent Ferguson uprising, which created a demand for spaces that allowed opportunities for people to be seen, felt, and heard. Dacia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. My pleasure. And Serroge Watt, son of Vivian Elaine Anderson Watt, right? And Lauren Watt, two creative geniuses themselves, and they have just passed that down to you. He himself is a passionate social critic and trained thespian with strong ties to the Black theater community. As a pioneering MC, he is the tip of the spear for the GOD, Generate, Operate, Dissolve, Hop Renaissance, which is the scientific formula and spiritual practice of the GOD Hop Renaissance. Afrofuturism, he is an Afrofuturism ambassador, national organizer with Black Men Build, a proud parent of 2, an avid reader, and chess enthusiast. Serroge, thank you for being here today. So, my journey using art as social activism started when I graduated from Grinnell College in 1973. I got a job at the Kuumba Theater Workshop in Chicago, Illinois. Little did I know that that would be the beginning of a life-changing experience for me. The Kuumba Theater Workshop, under the direction of Val Gray Ward, was known for producing plays in the tradition of Black liberation theater. And I got immersed in it. And I have not looked back since. Being someone who aspired to be a professional dancer, that's the career I pursued. And I made the decision that I would not do my art for art's sake, but I would do my art to tell stories, to inspire and to liberate my brothers and sisters out of the conditions that they were in, to help elevate them to a higher level of human existence. And those are the exact reasons why I chose Malena, Dacia, and Serroge to be a part of this discussion. The three of them inspire me to continue to do the work that I do in my personal and my professional life. I thank you all. And I'm gonna ask all y'all the same question to start with. Serroge, I'm gonna start with you. Who or what were your two most significant influences on choosing the career path that you have chosen, and why? Did we lose Serroge? Is he still there?
I think we did, DeBorah. I don't see him.
Oh, okay. So Malena, so Serroge will hopefully be back. I think he's in the airport somewhere, but so he'll be back.
Right. The connection.
So Malena, I'm gonna start with you next. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mama DeBorah. And
You're so welcome.
as Mama DeBorah said, I am Malena Amusa. I am the founder of Jakunde Phonics and Math, and also the now retired Ad Life African Dance Company and Amusa Communications. So my whole life has all been about writing, telling stories through movement, but also creating social solutions through creative projects. I want to give a shout out to my personal dance mentor, Mama DeBorah. And happy birthday on your anniversary. We are all here because of you. So let's not overlook the opportunity to give you your shine and give you your roses and just let you know how much we absolutely love you, cherish you, and how much you have completely changed the world and our lives. So thank you for that. So who have been the two biggest influences on my decision to become an artist? I'm so glad you asked that question because I grew up in an activist household. My father is Wale Amusa, and he is quite a well-known civil rights leader in St. Louis, and his efforts have actually spread nationally to liberate people from oppression, disadvantage, and marginalization. My mother was one of the nurses at Homer G. Phillips Hospital, which was the historical all-Black run hospital in St. Louis that became kind of a standard for medical care globally. So you can imagine the house that I grew up in, the type of conversations that we had, they were all rooted in how does my life affect others? How does my work create a human and dignified experience for other people? So I would say I started as an artist the day I was born because my parents were creatively solving our biggest problems: racism, discrimination, being in a Black hospital where some of the patients were forced there because they couldn't go to Barnes. So this is my paradigm. But you may have the parent influence. However, as we get older, as children, we want to stand apart from our parents. Well, who am I? And so when I entered high school, I knew that I loved activism and justice, but I didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't know how to present my quest for change in the world. I didn't know who I really was. And that was until Mama DeBorah brought my first serious African dance teacher into my life, Jaje Bachelet. So she helped to sponsor this Ivorian master dance teacher, and he came to Metro High School to teach me. And it was literally the first drum beat, the first step that he taught me, where my entire universe synergized in a form of identity. And I was like, I am a dancer. I'm a dancer. I move my body. I generate light. I generate power. I generate energy.
Yes, you do. I'm an amen and I say that. Go ahead.
And I do it in such a way that it commands attention. And with that attention, that's when we start to have those critical conversations. That's when we start to do the social work, when we have that critical concentration. And so I want to give DeBorah a big shout out for just creating an identity that ultimately has taken me around the world. I really didn't know I was a dancer until Mama DeBorah brought that resource into my school. And so if it weren't for that, who knows where I would be, but I thank you for helping me to define myself at that young age.
You listen, I humbly received that, Malena. That was, wow. That was powerful. That was powerful. Thank you. In fact, when you said you didn't know who you really were, I think about something that Dr. Karinga brought back to Dr. Malena Karinga, who's the creator of Kwanzaa. And he borrowed this from one of the temples in Kemet. On the walls, it says, who am I? Am I really who I am? And am I all I ought to be?
Right.
Those are constant questions. So that was powerful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dacia, I'll repeat that question. Who or what were your two most significant influences on choosing the path that you are on, and why is that?
Well, yes, following on Malena's inspiration, geez Louise. No, seriously, that quote that you just spoke, the first time I ever heard that quote was from a brother named Jihad Kayam. It was a fundamental period and point in my life where I had already realized that I was following an artistic path, but I have to start from the beginning, of course. My mother and father were incredible people. Excuse me. My father was an incredible man, and my mother, still living, is even more awesome. Being a graduate of Central Visual Performing Arts, my mother used to always regale us with stories of the things that she was off into from drama, creative arts, and she is even a fantastic visual artist as well, even though she keeps it real quiet. My father, journeyman carpenter, was incredible with his hands and delved into photography. And literally, you know, those experiences for me as a child, I wouldn't even know that it would plant a seed in me that would inspire me to continue to art for the sake of art, not because I wanted to be an artist, but just because it was an energy that flowed through me. So it took me a little bit later in my later years. And I honestly wish that I could name all the people who have had influences on my artistic development. But I will say that there are a few folks who continue to push me, including you, Mama DeBorah, the great Dr. Ronaldo Anderson, former humanities chair at the Harris State University, currently teaching at Temple University in Africology and African American Studies. Just incredible guy. Yvonne Samuels, retired from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, journalist for over 30 years. Incredible woman, pastor, pours into me often, a mentor of mine. Howard Denson. It's just so many people who have been drawn to me in my life over the years and have continued to inspire me on my artistic journey. So that list, I'm sorry, so many people. But yes, just have to thank my parents, of course, for just being themselves.
Yeah, I hear you, Dacia. Thank you. And I have to do the same thing with my parents. My mother wanted to be a professional dancer, and she got married, and she had my older sister, who's an ancestor now, and that just changed her aspirations, which was unfortunate. However, what she did do, she put her love for dance and performing into me. She poured it all into me. So the same thing that you all got, that inspiration, that source from both of your parents on so many different levels, and Malena in particular for you, the political activism, the social activism, the Black consciousness. You know, I took what my parents gave me and even my sister, and I tried to blow it up. And I want you all out there who are in the audience, I want you all to know that I didn't invite them for you to hear their compliments to me. I appreciate it. I'm really humbled by it. And as we move through our lives, and I want to ask y'all something in a second, but as we move through our lives, most of us are, you know, it's that journey. We're on that path, we're on that road, and we don't so much see the impact that we're making on people. At some point, if we're blessed, those people that we've had a positive impact on, they will let us know, because it's fuel for the fire that, is in each of us. And Dacia, with Word Up, have you seen a difference in the type of content that the artists are spewing forth on the stage, on the open mic session over these past 9 years?
Absolutely. I think that first and foremost, when it comes to creativity, creative arts, we have so many genres of talent here in St. Louis that's thriving. And to be an ambassador of such a space, it is an honor and privilege to bear witness to this growth. So in the 9 years that I've been able to bear witness to so much talent, goodness gracious, you see it. You see the creative artists as the vessels that are able to encapsulate what is happening politically, economically, culturally, all across the world, and to be able to continue, to bear witness to this talent. It also allows you to see how people's art has developed in that way as well. So I've seen, it's just incredible. It's incredible.
Malena, what about you in the dance world? So you had some influences on you, and I'm just going to include myself in that realm, where we really practice our art as activism. So we poured that at least into 2 generations following us. Are you seeing that with the people that you're working with? Do you think that they see art as a tool for change,
Right.
for inspiration?
Well, I'm so glad we're getting into the heart of this conversation, because I would dare to say, if you're performing a piece that is not responsive to what's actually happening in real people's lives, including your own, then I would dare to say, and you all might disagree, that it's not art.
Profound.
Because some things are presentations of history. So let's say if I go onto stage and I do the Nutcracker. Now that's art. We all know that's art. But unless I adapt that narrative to the fact that there are people who are not eating tonight because they can't afford dinner. There are lights that are being shut off down the street because they can't afford lights. There are people who are being summoned to war overseas. If my Nutcracker does not speak to that as a dancer, I have not done art. What I have done is popping up a historical narrative, and that is okay, and that has its place. But is that the route of change, or the most efficient route of change? There's one thing to inspire people with beauty and aesthetic. There's another thing to speak to their actual struggles. And so I find that the artists that I surround myself with are constantly on the tip of the spear of the status quo. And these are artists who have an opinion, are well researched. We're talking about Dacia. We're talking about people like Tiffany Poole. She's the founder of another fantastic African dance company, or Babu Kunama, or Mama Sophia. We're talking about artists who, when they step forward, they're speaking to the issues. And I think the question that you asked is, do we see that happening now with the younger folks who are coming in? What I see is that we are at risk of losing that political compass with our young children. Yes, they are motivated, thank God to Black Lives Matter. They are motivated, but they still require that political depth to bring their art to the fore in a certain kind of way. And so what I've seen a lot of is that art for the sake of social media entertainment, as opposed to art with a message that can really affect a political change. And so that's going to be our challenge, DeBorah, is that you have passed the torch to me and Dacia, right? And now me and InnerGy, we have to then pass the torch to the young people to help them with their messaging, with their self-definition, and to understand the issues that are affecting the whole world.
Whoa. Serroge, Malena, thank you. Serroge, and I'm glad that you made it back, brother. So you're going to come in on that discussion. So Dacia and Malena talked about the people or the events or things that influenced them, but I'm just going to bring you right into where we are right now. Where do you see people who are in the realm of using art, creative energy as a tool for social change? Where do you see them in terms of, are they actually using their creative energy to do that? Are they making an impact? Are they communicating within their community of their brothers and sisters? And this is Black History Month, y'all, right? And our focus is going to be primarily on Black folk. So Serroge, that's who I am directing this question about. How are Black people's lives being changed, in your opinion, through the creative expression that even your peers are involved with in terms of making an impact on positive change in our community?
Certainly. Thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
All right. So, yeah, the first thing we will remember is that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transferred. So the use of the energy that we have access to right now is always in movement. Everything is in motion at all times. The beautiful thing about Afrofuturism is that it gives us the ability to take science fiction, mythology, proverbs, fantasy, pop culture, so many different things, and create a unique cultural aesthetic that speaks to the 21st century Black American and other people throughout the African diaspora. So what that looks like is home libraries. What that looks like is family heirlooms. What that looks like is content that is supremely focused on the stories of Sankofa, study the past, analyze the present to predict the future. All of these things are trickling through. All these things are slowly permeating the everyday mind of the people that we're talking about. So like myself as an MC, there was a time when all I did was listen to secular music, right? There was a time when I was thoroughly engrossed in, what was given to me. And now we're at a space now where through self-study, through, so many songs being downloaded and uploaded a day, and so many different ways that we can create and express ourselves, Afrofuturism and the community at large is just waiting to explode. We're at the point where Black history is transforming into Afrofuturism. We're finding, historic Missourians that we never knew about. We're realizing that the introduction of Black Panther, the film, is just one of many introductions to the popular culture of what Afrofuturism is, whether that's sunrise music, whether that's literary anthologies, which is something I love to teach myself, using the library, music, poems, authors. It doesn't stop. It's really about what it's not touching more than what it is touching. So we have to find what it's not having an impact on. It's unquantifiable, though. It's intangible. It's something that we may not even be able to pick up on until it has seeped in for a few more decades. And it's exciting, it's a $1 billion industry, and it's one of the main things that we can teach and show, leading through example, about how you can transform your life and transform your pocketbook with going ahead and focusing on yourself, your people, your ancestors, and ways to transform what's around you in an everyday situation.
And Dacia and Serroge, both of you all are very much involved in the Afrofuturism movement. And Dacia, since you work very closely with what's the brother's name who was at Harris Stowe?
Dr. Ronaldo Anderson.
Dr. Ronaldo Anderson, since he is one of the, founders, is that the correct word? Pushers, purveyors of Afrofuturism. Where does he see it, in your opinion, or what he shared with you?
Afrofuturism. Okay.
And you can define Afrofuturism. Yeah.
The term was actually coined by a cultural arts critic by the name of Mark Derry, somewhat in the same vein as the word jazz. Our group, and speaking specifically to Black people as a culture, we have been heavily studied, analyzed, and postulated upon. And so it's so many books, as Serroge was pointing out, that kind of speak to cultural revolutions that have happened within our communities, but they've always occurred in a conjunction with some sort of political action, some sort of civil unrest, some type of social issue. And so looking at Afrofuturism today, even though we, of course, like we use the term jazz, we still use the term Afrofuturism while it is being credited to this white cultural critic by the name of Mark Derry. Folks like Dr. Ronaldo Anderson have picked up this term almost not even by chance, but by choice through the actual philosophical work that he does as someone who was a scholar who talks about Afrofuturism at length. So Dr. Ronaldo Anderson, he is the founder of, or co-founder of, a movement called the Black Speculative Arts Movement. So when we talk about Afrofuturism, we have to think of it in terms of everything. Even our ancestors were Afrofuturists. How did they envision themselves then up until now? You know, there were some that, of course, did not envision themselves at all, unfortunately. But then there were those few who continued to put forth energy and effort, and to continue to build up this momentum that allow all of us to be here today. And so for that, we're absolutely grateful. But it is upon us to use those same tools that we inherited, just like the unfortunate generational traumas and curses that we've inherited, to be able to uplift ourselves out of that, out of what we deem to be whatever is oppressive for us and hindering us from liberation. So that stems to everything from our music, our narratives, archaeology, information, science, technology, all levels of life. We have been challenged to reimagine. And so as someone who considers themselves to be a revolutionary healer, a huge aspect of that had to do with using Afrofuturism as a way to connect to my ancestral roots, acknowledging that we had Afrofuturists in our bloodlines who did what they could to preserve history, culture, and creativity, pass it down through our food, pass it down through our hairstyles, pass down through the textiles and our clothing, these subtle clues, these breadcrumbs that have allowed us to be able to go back in time and time travel and quantum leap, forward, using these tools that we have been able to identify and explore to do everything different. So I definitely appreciate brothers like Serroge, who are also paying very close attention, and Malena, who are also paying very close attention, not just to the youth, but to all groups. And I know that I speak and appeal directly to women who are in my age group, who are nerds and into tech, but also knowing that there's a spiritual element to our focus when it comes to Afrofuturism. Because again, these are tools that we've inherited, even with the revolution in Haiti, like looking at how voodoo had an influence on the revolution. It's so much, so intertwined and so ingrained, and so many layers to peel back and analyze today. I'm grateful, of course, to be able to be someone who also is an Afrofuturist. And with my event that I host on Tuesday night, I'm also able to infuse some of my Afrofuturist thought and vision into changing and transforming St. Louis. The creative culture here also needed a inspiration and an energy that would allow people to gather and also be a part of this narrative and this conversation. And we are literally, every single time we gather, transforming the conversation when it comes to the narratives around St. Louis supporting art, St. Louis participating in art, what our artists have to say, what our artists are doing, and where they see themselves in the future as well. So yes, Afrofuturism is undeniable.
And all the way live. Go ahead, Malena. Thank you, Dacia.
I just want to jump in and say, Dacia, what I love about Afrofuturism, as I have discovered, is it seems like post-racial or post-white supremacy, meaning, like, for example, as a Black artist, you have to decide if you're going to spend your time trying to change white people, right? And their collective consciousness, or if you're going to try to empower Black people as your form of activism. I feel like we've all come to that crossroads. Like, do I help white people see my value, or do I help empower my value as a Black person? And what I think is that Afrofuturism, and please correct me, Serroge, if I'm wrong, it has actually turned its back on the movement to quote unquote change.
Serroge.
Serroge.
Yes.
Sorry, Serroge. It has turned its back on trying to change whiteness to say, let's just pump up us. Let's pump up who we are and go with that. And I think that's very daring and amazing. And that's what attracts me to it, because I have fought the good fight, the civil rights fight, which DeBorah's generation has fought, which is really helping to evolve white consciousness and white institutions. But honestly, our generation, DeBorah, we're just very fatigued. And we're like, let's do us to the max.
And you need to continue to do that. And
Yeah.
Malena, I want to say that I wasn't so much a part of the civil rights activism. My influence was Black cultural nationalism. That's what birthed me. That's what I got immersed in when I moved to Chicago in 1977. And it's like, I just, like I said earlier, just like, I never looked back. In fact, oh man, every time I hear the song, We Shall Overcome, I'm like, really? You need to be saying you have overcome. I mean, it's like, it almost feels like, and forgive me, I know that's like an anthem of the civil rights movement, so I don't mean to insult anybody, but it feels like you're begging for something. And it's like, we've got to get out of that mindset. We have to claim that which is ours so that we can assert ourselves into the future in the way that we see ourselves, which is really practicing that fifth principle of Kwanzaa, which is kuumba, to do all that we can in the way that we can in order to leave our communities more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited them. That is our job. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So all three of you all are parents, right?
Yes.
How are you all infusing these concepts, these beliefs, these practices into your own children? Whoever wants to go first, go for it.
Well, and I just want to say very quickly is the Black cultural nationalism, which I think we can define more. And so I'll just segue off of that is.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to prepare my two daughters. I have two supernatural daughters. I mean, one of them was crawling the first day out in the world, crawling. and the oldest one, she said hi the first day she was born. So anyway.
Oh my God, she's trying to catch her with her mama. Okay, go ahead.
And so I know that they're going to be in a world that's obsessed with their excellence and brilliance. And so I'm trying to give them a paradigm of self-knowledge. And so we do just spontaneous historical lessons constantly. We're working on learning African languages because that's our native blood level language as opposed to English. And so we're constantly learning African languages. And then of course, I'm giving them the power of African dance because I think Black cultural identity starts with movement of those molecules as we've been talking about, and it's in our blood. So as long as we can continue to tap into that as an exercise, their hold on their Blackness and their Africanness and their originness, I think will be strong. If it's physically alive, it can't be shut down.
Sorry, let me take myself off of mute. So true. Dacia, Serroge, please chime in.
In a society, being born into a society that conditions you and indoctrinates you to see only the things that they want you to see. I actually did not grow up in a very deeply cultural household. If I was to prescribe myself to any sort of culture, representing any sort of culture, at the beginning, it was Black culture. And we definitely have a lot to say about that. But it took me to challenge the questions and the answers to begin to kind of peel back those layers, as I mentioned before. And in my own self-discovery, I had begun to attract to myself many different interests. So I delved deep. I studied how I am able to influence my children. I'm literally doing the same things that my parents did for me. I am living my beliefs. I'm living the cultural beliefs and reframing how it is that I approach everything from what I eat to what industries I support to how I clean and keep my household. It is a practice, I think, that people oftentimes don't consider, how those little tiny details as a child, you're watching everything that your parents do. You're analyzing everything that your parents do. And then you also begin to ask questions once you get to that formative age of like, okay, well, I'm noticing that this is different from how my grandmother does things, or this is different from how my auntie does things. So mom, why do you do things so differently? And as someone who is a Pan-Africanist, I have been able to connect with so many different cultural practices all over the world. And because of that, I have these artifacts and things in my home that my kids oftentimes ask me about. I do practices during my day, whether that is meditation and yoga, whether that is sage and Paulo, and my altar that I have in my home of my relatives that have passed on and transitioned that I still communicate with. And so I have also broken this pattern that I grew up with, where I couldn't ask questions about why we went to church or why we did the certain things that we did or why we ate the certain foods that we ate, because I grew up in a generation where it was very much do as I say, not as I do, and because I said so. And so changing that narrative and also, again, just arming myself with knowledge has allowed me to give my kids a different perspective on themselves, not to the degree by which they have estranged themselves from society or like the cultural norms and the societal norms that they have to combat every single day when they're at school or when they're around friends that don't share the same type of identity. But at the same time, for me, the biggest piece has been to provide them with knowledge and resources so that they could either learn from me or do their own research and conclude their own ideas of what things mean, and to create their own connections with this new way of seeing themselves and this new way of seeing the world. So you were asking, how am I using my creativity to, or just my culture and where I am to influence my children? I just hope that they choose, because it has to be a choice. It's not something that you can force kids into. It's not something that you can give them all the influence in the world, but they still have to decide whether that's something that they want to involve themselves in. And so being someone who does practice what people call soft parenting, I have these conversations with my kids, but I also give them the option of whether they want to be immersed in it or if they want to observe it from the outside looking in, and then to continue to leave them knowing that they have the space to ask me anything, and that they're not going to be pushed into something that doesn't resonate with them, because it does take time. And like I said, it is a choice.
So, wow, that's true. For myself, I mean, Malika and I have one son, and you all know him, Shabazz. The first time he repeated a rhythmic pattern on the djembe, he was 1 year old. And I said, now this could have just been my own ego. My son's going to be a drummer. Now, with that being said, right, ego aside, one of the things I wanted him to do was to learn how to play the djembe. And it was for 3 reasons. One, I wanted him to have a creative connection to his ancestral heritage, because I know that creative energy is really God energy. And that's because it produces life, dance, music, visual arts, literature, fabric, everything that's considered a creative outlet, a creative expression, really does connect you to the God force of this universe. And I wanted him to have that connection. I also wanted him, when he became old enough, to always have a way to make money, because there are never enough drummers in the African dance community anywhere in the country. And then I wanted him to also have a mastery of something that he would feel good about. What he would do with those things, I never knew, but I knew I felt that responsibility as a person who I claim myself as being, as a Black cultural nationalist, as an artist who used her creative expression towards social activism and uplift our people. I said, DeBorah, this is what you've got to do. So, Serroge, how does that fit into your household with your children?
Hopefully in a fun way. Don't That's my perspective on it. So yeah, first off, I was supremely blessed to be born to Vivian and Lauren. So I was born on the stage. I was always in dress rehearsals. I was always at festivals. I was always at auditions. I don't know anything else. I was a child actor. I left school to do industrial films and commercials and tour the state doing children's plays and so on and so forth. So I say that to say, I have nothing but the utmost respect for the rites of passage system that my parents put together that is uniquely, distinct and custom. But, for anybody else that I would say family heirlooms, whatever that looks like. Like right now, this is a family heirloom. This is something I had commissions. This is something I wear every day. Not only do I have conversations with total strangers about it at least 2 or 3 times a day, my children get to see it. They get to see me leading by example. And then one day, if I ask them to light a candle for me and hold my picture out, 25 years from now and play my music and hold this up, this is something that hasn't been in my family before, right? And this is something that we want to carry on intergenerationally. Having a will, right? Some of the things that we don't have those conversations. Afrofuturism is pragmatic. So it's critical thinking. It's playing chess and using chess as a perspective to see everyday life. One of the things that we use at Black Men Build is the ability to hopefully use chess as a perspective to change even the lexicon of how we speak to each other. So we're not at the crib as a Black man. We always know that Francis Cress Welsing told us that the crib is to put us in prolonged adolescence. So we're not at the crib, we're at the fort, right? The fort meaning that we are behind enemy lines. This is a spiritual and or political war. And you always have to remember that. So we're at the fort, we're creating a supply line. We're always keeping things in perspective. So what else does that look like? We don't use money, we use fiat. Correct. I mean, it's really just tearing down the walls of education so that it becomes an everyday thing. I grew up.
Serroge, define fiat.
So fiat is basically the financial system that we live in right now that's not backed by any tangible commodity that can be traded in at a financial institution like a bank. You should be able to take your money as an IOU and trade it in for a certain amount of cotton or sheep, or there's a certain amount that this is supposed to be able to be traded in for, and that's not the system that we live in right now, which is what fiat currency is being printed exponentially. And that's one of the reasons why we might be in some of the situations we are in today. But yeah, no, what does Afrofuturism do? Really, it can be futurism of any diaspora, because there's an African diaspora, there's a European diaspora, right? And America is a melting pot. So really what it is it's the culmination of everything that planet Earth may or may not have to offer in the next 100 to 300 years, based on what I believe are the prime movers of the planet, and that is the Black American. We have been through a unique Mayafa, right? We don't have slavery, we have Mayafa. We have unique cultural words that help give us a definition beyond.
Serroge, define Mayafa.
So the Mayafa is our journey in the Americas through the system of slavery, and how that begins and or ends, if it ever does end. To a system, because we all know as the physical chains came off, the mental chains became heavier. So the Mayafa is something that we teach our youth and our parents or whoever, right? Because some people aren't elders, they're just older. So they also need rites of passage to usher them into new spaces. It's not just for the children. This is something that Afrofuturism is teaching us. You can be older, but if you want to be able to hold respect at the table with the Council of Elders, not just City Hall, not just with your Board of Aldermen or our Congress or our Senate, because one thing before I let go, this is an election year. So we're electing ourselves. We're electing new positions in our life, in the Congress and the government of ourselves, because we are.
Serroge, say that last thing. Say that. Yeah, you put yourself on mute.
We are
Repeat
electing
that.
ourselves. We are the temple, right? We are the church upon which we are always trying to build and reform and transform and terraform. So that's what Afrofuturism has given me as a person. My name is Serroge. I started off very unique. I always had to explain myself. And there was a time when I thought that was not beneficial to me. But now as a man in these spaces, I get to fully embrace Serroge when, you know, in other times I thought Serroge was alienating me because my name kept me out of certain circles. My hobbies kept me out of certain conversations. I didn't watch The Simpsons. I wasn't into sports. My parents spent a supreme amount of time making me read and do scripts. And, you know, I love them for that. And not only that, before I let go, what I do with my children now is I also build their peer group. So it's not enough that I do something with my daughter. I also find a young man that's the same age as her that hopefully he can take her out on her first date. Maybe his family can also meet my family. And whether it works out or not, I believe that it's important for Afrofuturism to bring families together. And I think other communities are very, you know, well equipped at doing this, bringing families together to have that conversation and then move along. And I'll leave it at that.
Whew, Ashe. I love you all. Go ahead, Malena.
We love you.
But Serroge, I love how you mentioned the rites of passage, because a lot of times, for example, when artists like us do what we do, and let's say if the non-artist is looking, they may say, well, how can I change the world through creative energy if I'm not a master dancer like DeBorah, or a master word visionary like Dacia, or a mastermind as Serroge is. So my thing is, the rites of passage, if you're not an artist, the rites of passage piece is key. Can you provide a rites of passage for a young person? That will be the creative contribution and activism. And so for those who are looking to help, but you don't want to take a mic or a stage, because, you know, a lot of people aren't extroverted like that. Help a young person go through their rites of passage. I mean, can I get an amen? Because
So you got an amen and an ashe.
I say amen.
Wait,
because I know we're wrapping up, so I just want to tell one quick story on the power of my dance company. You know, when I came back to St. Louis from New York, I came to dance, but I soon realized I had to come to heal, as Dacia talks about. And so one of the women who auditioned to dance for my company, she had never danced before. She was just drawn to me. You know, after several rehearsals, right before our first show in St. Louis, she came up to me and she said, Malena, when I met you, I was on the cliff about to jump, period. And that shocked me. And she said, it was your dancing, your energy, your joy, your creativity, and the community that saved me and made me want to live. And so that's kind of when I just stopped, you know, dancing with my cowrie shells and feathers and face paints, and really said, well, what is it that my company is offering? And so I started calling, you know, my company this revolutionary kind of healing movement and social movement. It was also an economic movement. Just so much was being exchanged. And so that's just my story of how that one woman went through her rites of passage. She wasn't young, but she was in her 30s, but she had finally gone through her rites of passage and made it to the other side and realized that her life was worth living. So that's a gift that we can give everybody at any point in our journey.
Teach, you oh man, you're absolutely right. You all have said so much, and I want to give our audience an opportunity. If any of you all out there have any questions, Cynthia, I don't know if you can read them, or Sarah, if there are any questions out there.
I'm happy to. No, mostly right now we have comments, wonderful, beautiful comments, but no questions.
Okay. Thank you, Cynthia. And we pray that your voice heals completely.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm gonna.
Someone did ask.
Oh, go ahead, Dacia.
If I could share a link or resource to more Afrofuturist tools.
Yes.
And the Black Speculative Arts Movement does have a website. I did list it. It's www.bsim-art.com. Dr. Anderson has a book called Afrofuturism 2.0. And he's talking about us transitioning now into Afrofuturism 3.0. And it is such a vast and broad conversation that it is beautifully led and spearheaded by so many scholars that are a part of this conversation. And a lot of those resources can be found on that website. So you can learn more about Afrofuturism, more about folks who are pushing the movement forward and continuing to represent us in those spaces. We have another historic art exhibition going on with Carnegie Hall in New York. More details about that. The Democracy Project is just so much beautiful stuff going on right now. So definitely I want you guys to tap into that. And of course, go to that website. Thank you, DeBorah.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So this is going to be the last question I ask of each of you. What would you say to your ancestors if you could talk to them right now about where your life how you want to use your life to create a new future for the world? What would you say to them? And Malena, I'm gonna start with you.
Woo. So, as Dacia talked about, the Haitian Revolution was won by voodoo. My ancestors are Yoruba, so you know I have the power. And
You do. Nigeria, yes.
yeah, yes. And the other side is Wolof, Senegalese. So we're talking about epic empires and royalties and battles won and fought. And so I would like to say to my ancestors, thank you. Thank you for winning the battle of human dignity, of life. As we mentioned earlier before this call, they exuded the consistent, the miracle of consistency, as Barack Obama calls it. And that's how we all got here. So I would definitely love to tell them thank you. And right now, I did just want to let you all know, the spirit did move me to start this phonics company because so many of my daughter's peers are not reading. And as Serroge mentioned, I want to prepare her future husbands. They have to know how to read. And so I'm trying to gather all the babies together and teach them reading through African culture. So please support jaifunde.com. We have a goal this month of getting 1 million babies learning how to read through our unique curriculum. So please support. Thank you, DeBorah.
Oh, you're welcome, and you will achieve that goal.
Thank
You will, definitely. Dacia, what would you say to your ancestors about how your life is going to propel us into the future as their lives propelled them to develop and create us?
You know what? As much as I would like to put together some beautiful, streamlined words as far as something I would say, I think that the best that I can do to communicate to my ancestors about how I feel about them and how they poured into me and what I plan to do with that ancestral energy is through my actions. Continuing to move the cultural needle, continuing to be an ambassador for cultural arts for my community, continuing to create safe spaces for expression, so that we can all collectively reimagine the future of the world that we want to live in and how we're going to get there. Just to continue to breathe and meditate and to have those moments of stillness and healing that allow me to stay focused and steadfast. That's how I plan to talk to my ancestors and thank them for everything that they have given me and what I plan to do with what they've given me.
And Malena and Dacia, they did hear you. They did hear you. Serroge.
Okay.
I'm an MC, so I'm gonna talk in proverbs. Once I get everything I pray for, I ask for discipline to keep it and wisdom to multiply it. The hunter in pursuit of the elephant does not stop to throw stones at the birds. I'm gonna say that one again because it took me a minute. The hunter in pursuit of the elephant does not stop to throw stones at the birds. The child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. That's one of the things that I see every day in St. Louis City. Lead with the humble hand, follow with the iron fist. This too shall pass. Many hands make light work. And my name is Serroge. Check out my music, type my name in. I do God hop, generate, operate, dissolve. It's a scientific formula for a spiritual practice. It's a hive mind, and I can't do it without you. I can't wait to meet you. That's it.
Woo! Teach. We are our village, right? It takes a village, not just to raise a child, but to sustain, to develop, to nurture, to grow, to direct. Dacia Polk, Serroge Watt, Malena Amusa. I thank you all so much for being a part of this discussion today on creative energy, a tool for change. Drop the question mark because it is. All of you all are dedicating your life to that. And as I said to you before, our participants came on, You know, I'm standing on your shoulders too. Y'all inspire me, and I thank you. In whatever role that I've played in your lives, I am honored, I'm grateful, and you know, y'all just keep doing your thing. Definitely. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams, their best dreams. Cynthia and Sarah, thank you all so much for having us here today, for inviting us, and to the future presenters of the series and the 2024 Black History Month, brought to you all by the Brown School of Washington University. I hope y'all have a great time. I think we had a great time today. Peace and blessings to each of you. Much love to you, and continue to do all that you can to uplift every individual who you come in contact with, which starts with yourself, to a higher level of human existence. Asante San.
Blessings. Blessings.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, DeBorah and Dacia, Serroge, and Malena for sharing your experiences and your wisdom so freely with everyone. And I hope our audience enjoyed it. I think you did based off of the chat. Thank you so much for joining. And if you want to share this presentation with a colleague or rewatch it again, it'll be available as a video tomorrow on our website. I dropped it into the chat, and there's also a QR code on the screen for you. So we hope that you will share the wisdom that was shared with us today with others in your lives. We also hope that you'll join us for our last three 2024 Black History Month programs. We have February 13th, February 22nd, and February 27th, all at 12:30 p.m. Central Time. And that QR code will also take you to the website to sign up for that. So thank you all for joining us for today, and have a great rest of your day, and we'll sign off now. Bye all.
Don't be a stranger.